All right, sounds good. So how you doing on this championship Saturday? And your thoughts on the two matchups? I guess we'll start with the girls. I mean, that's polite, right? Ladies first. We'll start with the girls matchup where Atlantic High is going to match up against Mainland.
Yeah, to be quite honest with you, Pete, I don't follow much with the girls, and so this will be a short and sweet one. I think, obviously Mainland and everyone knows Kylie Watson's the player, and the McDonald's All-American. So I'm guessing all eyes will be focused on her today, and looking for them to bring home the title.
Right, and Atlantic City in the title for the first time. It should be a good game, Kevin. At least that's what Mike McGarry tells me. And Atlantic High has certainly had some tough victories to get to that final game. So, I look for $5. Show up for both is the way I keep promoting it. But the second game, and we'll segue right into that one for you. My goodness gracious, could you get a better matchup than St. Augustine and Wildwood Catholic?
Yeah, these two teams, clearly all season long, I think have been the best two teams. They both had a few hiccups along the way, but then again, everybody tends to do that for the most part. And it's the two teams that I think most people figured we're going to be in this position. And obviously, I think a lot of people will think back to the game, during the regular season and how Wildwood Catholic basically dominated that game from start to finish and left no doubt about it. But I think, since then, both teams have learned a little bit more about themselves. Obviously, Wildwood Catholic went through a little bit more of a struggle with some of their games down the stretch. St. Augustine, pulled itself together rather quickly and has, kind of pushed that loss to the back burner and went through the rest of the regular season pretty well. So, but that's obviously that's what people are going to remember. About these two teams leading into this game. It was how decisive Wildwood Catholic was the first time they played. So, I think we're going to see a totally different game. I will be extremely surprised. I would be extremely surprised if I saw another 20, 30-point victory from Wildwood Catholic. I think both teams, are going to settle in and it's going to be a little bit closer this time around.
Yeah, you referenced that game, Kevin Minnick, January 22nd, 82-43, a 39-point margin of victory. I remember when I saw the final score that night, I thought, like, my God, is this tweet right? Like, you're almost shaking your head of, wow.
Well, they, and you shake your head, wow, because they just dominated the game. Taj Thweet, it was probably the best game I saw him play all season, and I think I probably saw Wildwood Catholic play 4 to 6 times maybe.
Okay.
He dominated the glass. He kind of put the team on his shoulders a little bit. Any key rebound, any big moment where a big play needed to be made, he made it. It probably could have been a lot worse than even 39 points. That's how dominating and decisive and one-sided it was. But, Paul Rodeo has been around for far too long to, not make the adjustments, not make the changes, not see what needs to be done, in this rematch. And, obviously it comes down to the kids executing on the floor, but I think they'll be in a much better position today, than they were walking off that floor, back in January.
Kevin, how about Wildwood Catholic becoming like one of the smaller schools or the smallest school in the Cape Atlantic League, and they're kind of getting the attention or putting themselves on the map with like Northern Jersey schools because of their strength of schedule and getting these guys. You mentioned Taj Thweet, West Virginia recruit, Jaleel White, Temple recruit. I mean, how did this little tiny Catholic school in North Wildwood pull this off?
Well, I guess, Dave DeWeese got these kids, to buy into his system. And, obviously when you have some talent like those two kids and you have other kids coming in and you can build around them, let's be quite honest. When you are a non-public school, you can go out and you can kind of recruit for lack of another word, and you can build around what you have. And, they've been able to do that. They've been able to get some kids in there that have been they fit their roles. They're an extremely solid supporting cast to Taj and to Jalil, and they've been able to put some things together. And that the schedule was very ambitious. I think it kind of caught up to them a little bit
from fatigue, right?
I think they were a little worn out about two and a half weeks ago. I think that they were tired, and it showed in one weekend. It showed in the weekend that they had competed in the Metro Classic, and they lost to Patrick School by a few points, and they were right in that game. And less than 12, 13 hours later, they turn around, take the bus, up to Haddon Township and play a very good Paul VI team, and lost that game. And they lose to St. Joe during the days to follow. So I think at that point they were a little tired. The shots looked a little flat, the legs looked a little heavy. So the last week or so, the schedule is obviously aside from the Cal tournament that they kind of had a chance to rest and get into that, and I think that they're going to be fresh going into the state tournament. And I see them as a team that can get to the South Jersey B final again this year. And if it matches up the way I kind of think it is against Rutgers Prep, that's going to be another tremendous final, to get a chance to play for a state title.
You mentioned St. Joe, the Wildcats boys program, that they're coached by a familiar name.
Yeah, Paul Rodeo, the son of St. Augustine's Paul Rodeo, has done a real nice job with them this year. I think that's a team that is going to maybe be I don't know if force is the best word to use, but I think they're going to be a team that you are going to know will compete on a daily basis, and is not going to be a pushover when you go into their gym or they come to your house. So I think he's done a good job. He's going to be he's getting some kids in there that are are playing together. They're doing a real nice job. And I think you got to take some small steps to get to the to where you want to be. And I think Paul has done a nice job in the last couple of years of doing that. So yeah, they're a competitive team now. I think there was a time when St. Joe basketball probably obviously was a second fiddle to the football program, and I think a lot of people still think it is. But that if in fact people believe that, the gap is certainly closed. So, they're a team that can compete. They're going to play in the South Jersey B as well, and they're going to have Rowney School in the first round. Rowney is the defending state champion, defending Tournament of Champions champion. They are a completely different basketball team than they were a year ago, losing the two McDonald's All-Americans and a couple of other guys. But, when you have a team that is the defending champion, they are the champ until proven otherwise. So, a very good opportunity for St. Joe to defend their home turf on coming up this week and take the next step in the direction that they want to go.
Kevin Minnick's with us, NJ Advanced Media, NJ.com, at K Minnick Sports, KMINNICK Sports on Twitter. And Kevin, when I look through some of your tweets and then I click through to NJ.com to read the articles that go with it, I just think to myself, boy, Kevin he loves what he gets to do. I mean, when you and Rich and Mike get together and create which boys basketball X factors will have the biggest impact in the state tournament. I mean, all you have to do is add the barley and hops drinks, and it's just like three guys sitting at your corner tavern. I mean, how fun is that to write and put together pieces like that? And that's the content you guys are generating at NJ.com.
Yeah, it's a fun time. It's a great opportunity to kind of let our experiences, what we've seen out there, what we've read, come to light a little bit. And what I think the biggest thing, Pete, that what we try to do when we have things of that nature is that we look to spread it out, and we look to all parts of the state. You could. In all honesty, you could probably look at a couple of teams and say, okay, that team has the best dunker, that team has the best rebounder, and obviously the point guard is sensational. But, we try to spread things out a little bit. Obviously there are very talented kids up and down the state, so we try to hit as many as we can, and we try to spread the love, so to speak. And, and touch on some different things and different people, and give everybody kind of a moment, in on the website and in the different things that we do. And, it's just an opportunity to highlight the kids. And like I've said a million times, every kid's got a story, and, we just want to go out and find those stories and write about these kids, and, and spreading it around and looking for a little bit out of everywhere instead of everything from just a couple of places really shows basically that, we're trying to do, the state. We're trying to give coverage of the state from top to bottom as best as we can.
Kevin, full disclosure, my father gets the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he's he's my dad, so he's in his 80s, right? And he calls me yesterday and starts complaining about like my alma mater, the girls team for my alma mater, and he knew they were in the state playoffs, but he doesn't understand. They don't put the brackets in the paper anymore because he still reads a hard copy of the paper. And unknowingly just kind of started segueing into, in New Jersey, it's all on NJ.com. Can you give us the backstory of how that came to be when the state figured out, like, wait a second, we can just pivot it all here? Because it's not just NJ Advanced Media that has the brackets, and that's great, but the coaches had to buy in to keep their reports and put their scores in and keep those records up to date too, right?
Yeah, it goes back. I can't tell you exactly when it goes back to, but it's been quite a while. And I think I can't say this with 100% certainty, but my guess is the fact that there needed to be some place where the state, the NJSIA, would require everyone to log their information in, and they needed somewhere to make sure that it was at one central location, so that we could generate PowerPoints. You could gather the information needed to establish your tournament teams. So basically, what it comes down to is NJ.com, NJ Advanced Media is the source, and this is what a lot of people do not understand, is that the relationship between us and the NJSIA is really tight. And the matter of fact is, when a kid's stats are not on the website, my son should have been on this list. He's averaging this or that. Well, the first thing I would do is I would go back and look at their team pages and see if those stats were inputted, because it is the responsibility of every coach to input their information. And a lot of teams, quite honest with you, don't do it, and they do it as sparingly as possible.
Right.
And the only people that suffer are the kids. Ultimately, if push came to shove, they can be fined by the state if they don't comply. But we generally don't go that far. But in the last couple of weeks, when we run state leaders in scoring or rebounding, and I get 3 or 4 emails 10 minutes after it's been up on the website, well, my son should have been on the list. Well, I go back, I look, well, your coach failed to input the information.
Right.
So I go, you just go right back to the parent, and yes, I understand your situation, but the coach is responsible for making sure this gets taken care of, and it wasn't taken care of. So, and then, ultimately the parent, well, I'll give you the numbers, you can put them in. No, that's not the way it's done. It is the responsibility of each team. So, and I've said this before, and I tell these coaches all the time, if you take 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, and make sure your information is inputted correctly, you never have to worry about mom or dad giving you a hard time because their kids' names weren't listed, because you would have taken care of your responsibility.
100%, yes.
So, basically in a nutshell is, yes, we are the I guess the liaison between, for the state and getting the information and developing the PowerPoints and all that stuff, and kicking out the brackets and things along those lines. But, for those parents and kids out there who don't see their names and think they should, it all comes down to who did their job and who didn't.
Yep. Start with the coach, start with the athletic director. Kevin Minnick's our guest, NJ Advanced Media at K Minnick Sports on Twitter, a must follow, and good answer there too. I thought that would be an opportunity for you to not only give a little backstory about why NJ.com and NJ Advanced Media is the go-to spot in your relationship, but yes, that's a good additional reminder. I mean, from my years back in the TV days, people would say, "Well, how come you didn't have that score?" Well, did anybody call it in? I mean, or is there any way to get it? I feel like we've come a long way from the days when I was calling Celeste Whitaker and getting a couple scores from her, or I was calling Vidge, or right? Who I never met these people in my life. I would just call them and trade scores. Here's what I got from the Boondocks down here. What do you have up there?
Yeah, back in the day when it was, you waited until the next day to find the scores or to get the, read about the things, that were going on. That was okay. And we always had a philosophy, and Tom Rimbeck up at the Burlington County Times kind of spearheaded this and all. We never had a problem exchanging results. I can give you the box score. That's no big deal. I'm not going to write it up for you. I'm not going to write your story, and I'm probably not going to give you too much more information other than the box score. But I'll be more than happy to exchange that information. And like you said, obviously times have changed tremendously since then, and basically nobody does a complete box score anymore. Except for us, for the most part. I am responsible after every game to do a complete box score, and you can look at any game that I've covered, and every stat is there. So, in that way, there are still box scores, but you're not going to find them in a newspaper anymore, for sure. But like I said, times have certainly changed, and we still try to do the best we can and the most that we can with what we have available.
But probably for the better too. I mean, Kevin Minnick with us. You tweet out and had running tweets about Burlington Township and a tight game with Haddonfield the other night. I'm scrolling through your Twitter feed and seeing that you're tweeting out all the previews that are on NJ.com for people to go look at. And I mean, that's, in one regard, that's probably for the better too. You can pump out a lot more content when you retweet.
Oh, sure. I mean, that's the way it is nowadays. Not everybody is interested in everything, but if I have enough followers that if I put out certain things and somebody sees it and they retweet it, and it kind of just goes right on down the line, and it's just the way it is these days. It's technology, and it's the way now it's information. I need the information now. I'm not going to wait an hour. I don't need it tomorrow. I'd like to know now. And, that's obviously a huge way of being able to spread information quickly. And, I think nowadays, if you were to kind of just look for a little bit, most schools all have a Twitter account in one way or another. Some schools may have just, a lot of schools have one for the school itself, and then every team has one, and
it's a grab bag, though, right? Some of them will tweet in the beginning, and you get all excited, like, "Oh, great! I can follow these guys to find out the score." And then 3 hours later, you're like, "You ever going to put the final up like you said?"
Well,
you were
yeah, there are those that probably get a little excited at the end and forget to kind of wrap things up a little bit with the score. I mean, I've done that on occasion too. So, that does happen from time to time. But, obviously, yeah, it's a lot easier to find a score now and to get the information that you need. And, it's just changed. And, we try to do, what we've done through the years and use that as background. But obviously, technology has forced us to kind of change gears a little bit, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, one thing that hasn't changed is that Kevin Minnick is a great 9 o'clock hour guest on the Pete Thompson Show, and we have him each and every Saturday at this time, and we will get a picture together. That is our mission. Challenge accepted. Okay, my friend, I'll see you out at Stockton.
Yes, I'll be down there. It won't be too much longer before we are down there, so we'll make sure we get that picture somehow.